Welcome back, everybody. Great to be back on this fine, wonderful day. Tall and Tall is back. Michigan football is almost back. College football is back. Um, like I said, we took that break. A lot of stuff has happened um, from Oregon and Washington coming to the Big Ten from the Pac-12 to join USC and UCLA. Um, the college football world since last time we've been on here has changed immensely. Um, but like I said, we could sit here all night talking about everything. Um, but we're going to preview for Michigan. That's going to be our main focus for this game is Michigan football for this game for this day. Ben, I mean, we'll move on. We'll start off with, I guess now it's the Jim Harbaugh and Sharon Moore show with the NCAA. Jim Harbaugh, pretty much. I know there's other stuff to it. Pretty much fed a kid a cheeseburger. Wasn't supposed to do that. NCAA is being the petty NCAA. It always is. Originally suspended him, and then wanted to push it back, didn't unsuspended him, and then now they're doing a self-sanctioned NCAA or self-sanctioned university suspension with Harbaugh, and then today comes out Sharon Moore is also going to serve a one-game suspension against ECU.
Right.
I mean, is this Michigan's? My question is: this Michigan's way of playing off and hopefully getting away with what the NCAA is going to want to do with them, and just kind of being like, "Hey, here's this." Because originally Harbaugh had a 4-game suspension, and this is only playing up to Rutgers.
Right, which was so-called negotiated, right? And then it sounds like the NCAA backed out of it or said, "Hey, not so fast." And Harbaugh was, uh, I believe that he wasn't happy with that negotiated thing to begin with, and he may have even said, "You know what? No, I'm not doing it." And so here we are. Michigan decides to get ahead of it, right? I believe for a couple reasons. One, they don't want that dominating the press during their season because that would have just played it out in the next year. And so this year, right, we got three nobodies and one nobody conference game. And so, but the three nobodies game of the season is Texas, who could be, maybe should be, a formidable opponent. Um, they've been kind of stuck in, where we were before the last few years since the Vince Young days, but they may be up and coming. So I think this was a cautionary measure to, if this whole process played out in the spring and they suspend him 4 games
Yeah,
next
he's
year, right?
missing.
Then he would miss the Texas game. And now if they self-impose 3, and if they add one on, he misses the first game of the year next year, which isn't going to be a huge deal. That's kind of my take on it. And also, I've never felt this way, until now. But we win a national championship this year, Harbaugh will just say "fuck you" and go. And it has nothing to do with Michigan or the situation. Maybe it has a little bit to do with Ward Manual because there's a lot of tension there. But I think he's tired of the hypocrisy of the NCAA, and I think whatever happened because of that. I think it was probably a calculated measure. But let's throw these quote unquote minor things out here, and when they try to come to get us, I'm going to fight them, and I think that's why he probably played dumb with I don't remember what it was, and I think that they've been pissed off at him since he come in and started doing that satellite camp deal. Kind of finding the
Oh
gray
yeah,
areas of the
because
rules,
as
which he is a master at, right? And I
well, I mean, going back in the satellite camp is that the fact. I mean, it all, in my opinion, was kind of where I was going to go on this, but it kind of works out. I mean, back when the satellite camp was going on, it was the SEC that was getting pissed off because Harbaugh was down here in SEC country putting on satellite camps, getting their talent, talking to their talent. Everyone that lives down here is supposed to stay in the SEC.
Right.
We and this kind of goes back to that because it's come out and come out and come out. There's multiple now that NIL's around. There's multiple people that have come out and say, "Yeah, I was getting paid in college to go to Alabama." I was just listening to who was
Right.
it? Was it? I think it was Bussing with the Boys with Taylor Wan and Compton. I can't even. Will Compton. Thank you. But they had someone on the other day, and allegedly he said that he was going somewhere, and then he committed to where he actually went, and like, oh no, it was Matthew Stafford. Now, so he wasn't on there, but they were telling a story about Matthew Stafford when he was leaving Georgia to go pro. He woke up one morning and found $500,000 in his mailbox.
Really,
So
I
this is
haven't
like
heard
so
this.
this is kind of why I like listening to like Busting with the Boys, things like that, because there's filter, but there's not really filter, especially nowadays now at NIL. Yeah, he woke up with $500,000 in his mailbox. He didn't take it. He actually gave it back. But I mean, there's plenty of proof now that the NCAA, that the SEC has gotten away with this for years. But Jim Harbaugh buys a kid a fucking cheeseburger.
Right.
Which is the main point in all this. I know there's other things like that, but the main point in all this is the cheeseburger buying for a recruit. What was it? And it was during COVID, wasn't it? He
Yes.
did it. Like it's 2 years ago. This just proves that the NCAA dick rides. Excuse my language. Ohio State. I mean, not Ohio State. The SEC schools nonstop.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely SEC versus everyone else bias, and I get it a little bit. They've earned it, right? But I would also argue that that's helped them with the dominance that they've shown over the last decade. So the bottom line is Jimmy decided to take a stand, I believe, and he's not going to back down. And if he loses this battle, because he's kind of been at the forefront of the whole NIL thing and advocating for some things that have happened and openly has expressed his disdain for the NCAA and for the things that have happened, and I'm sure that we'll get into this and you probably want to say it too, but like his coaching assignments for the next 3 games.
Yeah, that was my next.
That he's out, I think proves that, right? Naming his 80-something-year-old dad, I think 84-year-old dad, assistant head coach.
You have Herbert,
and then revolving everyone else around. And then you also have. So I think that was just a big fuck you, and I wouldn't. The only thing that he could have did to make that funnier and better is if he would have had like a sweepstakes and picked a random fan to be on the sidelines as an acting head coach for the thing. And I don't think we would have had any issues of a game, even if like you said, even if you and I. It's just a big song and dance, and I think he's tired of it, and the NCAA's tired of him being pushing their buttons and pushing the boundaries. And Michigan fandom aside, he's 1,000,000% right, because I forget exactly what C did last year, but it was way more egregious than or 2 years ago, I guess, than what we did.
Oh, Tennessee had like 212 violations, and they got hit with fines or some shit like that. They didn't get any suspensions, anything like that. But now the NCAA gets mad because Harbaugh lied, apparently, allegedly lied, and dude,
and again, Michigan slapping this aside, right? Is is Harbaugh is nothing if not a man of high character and high value. And there's a lot of people, mostly rival schools, that are trying to use this to dissuade that, to kind of argue against that notion. But I don't buy it. I'll believe going to my grave unless he says otherwise that this was a calculated thing by him to just poke him and put his middle finger up at him and say, okay, here this is. And I mean, the reality of it is there's not many people out there that could tell anybody that, yeah, I bought someone a cheeseburger 3 years ago. And how do you prove if someone remembers or not? Because, that's what he said. Basically, he said, I don't recall. And they're saying, well, here's the receipt. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I guess I did. And so they're saying that I don't recall was misleading. Well, fuck you.
Yeah. What more do you want, man?
Right.
Like, I I don't know. I want to go on this coaching tree thing because it's insane, and it's it's kind of like you said. It's the most Jim Harbaugh thing he ever could have did. It's the most Jim Harbaugh way to handle this situation. I mean, let's see. So he had his associate coaches. Um, his associate coaches are going to be his dad, and then Herbert, the strength and conditioning coaches, his associate head coaches, and then I mean you have Jesse Minter coaching game one, and then the second game. I think this more blows my mind than anything is how they're splitting the role against UNLV with
Right.
Jay and then Mike Hart getting the roles, and Jay has the first half, Mike Hart has the second half, and then Sharon Moore gets in the third. All in all, I think Sharon Moore is probably going to be the actual play caller and things like that, no matter what.
That's
I
what
think
makes sense, right?
I mean, it just does, and I mean, I trust Jesse Minter, but I think there's just all in all. But as I told you earlier when we were texting about this, I think the reason that he put his dad there is to be kind of his ear during games.
Right.
I will be shocked if we see his dad down on the sideline.
Well, so that his dad could be his ear without being in an official capacity, right? He could get his dad a sideline pass, right? So, and you may be right. Maybe he just wanted to make his dad feel good, but I think you're absolutely right. Is the only thing that doubts me on this is okay. I'm sure in some way or form they could monitor the university phones, right? The NCAA, and see if there's any communication. And they couldn't monitor anything of something between father and son. Well, now that Jack's on the payroll, more or less, right? I guess they can, but maybe Jack couldn't be inside the coach's box, right? If he could be inside the coach's box if he wasn't there in official capacity. So who knows? I'm sure it'll come out. Um,
I don't know.
it's hard to tell.
It's such a weird situation. I mean, we could go on and argue and like not argue, but go in the depths of the SEC bias, and I mean, it seems like every year it's something has to do with the Big Ten or someone else gets hammered down, and it just happens to be after the Big Ten gets two Big Ten teams in the playoffs for the first time. And
Right.
I know they both lost in semifinals, whatever. But the SEC probably feels threatened. Nick Saban didn't make the playoffs. Wanted to sit there. What was he on? What did he come on at halftime? What was it, a bowl game? Yeah. I don't remember what bowl game.
Yeah, it was the Big Ten championship game, I think.
Or some yeah, there was some
I
I don't
think it was.
remember. It was some
I'm pretty
big
sure it was a Big
game.
Ten championship game. And he was lobbying for his playoff spot.
And it just it just blew my mind. I'm like, dude, why are you getting on the TV crying? Just fucking accept the fact that you weren't that good this year. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's just all suspicious. I'm not saying that's why it's happening. That's why anything else is going on. But it all just is convenient that this all works out as soon as the Big Ten, Michigan, things like that start actually coming together as one and threatening the SEC, all in all. But I mean, like I said, it's a weird situation, and
It is.
we just got to we got to deal with it. It is what it is. Like you said, toughest game I think honestly is probably the ECU game. They're kind of like a big dog of the smaller schools. Always have been.
Yep.
Um, it just is what it is. I mean, we should win, but I don't see why we shouldn't. Still, the game shouldn't be over by the end of the first or second, start of the mid second quarter. Um, UNLV, Bowling Green, same thing. Rutgers should be the same thing. We have them at home. We're here to have. That's just how it goes. Um, like I said, we can talk about that probably all night. We'll move on to what I know both of us are happy for. Like I said, Michigan football is back in 6 days. Um, let's preview the season a little bit, talk about the team, talk about the upcoming season. Um, I mean, we returned, I think, 78% of our defenses, no, 75% of our defensive starters and 80% of our offensive starters from last season. Um, I know we're one of the highest return. I mean, at least the people that did good last year, we
Yep.
did. We have one of the highest returning percentages on the starting side of the ball. I mean, let alone the people, the people that played not as starters that were still impactful. I mean, I guess we'll start on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, I think there's still questions on the offensive side of the ball, more on the wide receiver side. But what are you excited for? What do you think needs to be is the worry, if there is any worry on the offensive side of the ball? Um,
My biggest worry is, and it's not even necessarily a worry, I guess, but I would like to see an explosive, game-changing receiver step up. And now, this year there's a lot of talk that Roman Wilson's going to be that guy. He's shown flashes. Cornelius Johnson has shown flashes, but we have not had that guy. I would love if we had a Braylon Edwards. As much as I dislike the person, he's a top 5 college football favorite player of mine. Dude's just an idiot now, but that's fine. Is we need a game changing receiver, and I actually think as long as Blake's workload doesn't get too high and he stays healthy enough, I think we're going to see Donovan Edwards in a slot maybe quite a bit, because for 2 years, various coaches and teammates have said he'd be the best receiver on the team if he was a full-time receiver, So really that's the only thing missing from our repertoire on offense, right? And has been for quite some time. So that would be nice to, a nice, legitimate, deep threat guy that can just, you throw it up and he gets it. I think then we'd be virtually unstoppable.
Yeah. Out of the people on the team, who's your best bet that you think could do that? Other than Donovan Edwards. I mean, yes, Donovan Edwards is fast, but at this point, he's still a running back. We don't know what we're going to see. People that we've seen.
Yeah. Probably Cornelius Johnson. There's a freshman that's getting a lot of hype that was highly rooted. I can't think of his name right now.
I mean, there's Darius Clemens. He's not a freshman. There's Tyler Morris. What's his name? I don't remember. I can't think of the other kid. The other kid's name. Um, shit, I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now. I'm trying to pull it up. But my biggest worry is us being able to stay healthy. Running back's not going to kill us if one of those two go down. And honestly, I think it would hurt us more if Donovan went down than if Blake did, just because he is such a multifaceted weapon. Um, the offensive line is they're swearing it's everywhere. They're 10 deep. That all 10 of those guys could start. Um, and that they're going to be better than the last two teams that have won the best offensive line in the nation. That's a scary thought. Colson Loveland's a hell of a tight end. Jake Butt thinks he could be the best one ever at Michigan. So we're really, if we can stay healthy, anything other than undefeated and another playoff appearance is going to be disappointing. Now, I wouldn't call it a disappointing season, but um, I'm still a little bit gun shy from the decade and a half of trauma or whatever it was, but this is as confident as I've been in a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I agree that it's definitely the wide receiver side of the ball that's going to be your. It's definitely the question here, um, and like I said, everything you said I completely agree with. But I think your deep shot threat is probably Roman Wilson at this point. Roman
It very
Wilson,
well could be.
I mean, he has the speed. He had a huge deep threat game against TCU. Um, we've seen it flashes last year. Um, the same play that Cornelius scored that wide open touchdown on, he was what Roman was wide open too. I mean, I know he did. Roman did just change his number to number one, so he's gonna have to live up to it. Unlike the
Yep.
last few people who have worn number one as a wideout in Michigan. Um,
Frederick
but
Moore, who I was trying to think of.
oh
Frederick
yeah,
Moore. But we haven't gotten a big bodied physical receiver, like a Braylon,
Nico
like
Collins.
what's that? Yeah,
Nico Collins, but
Nico, but
Nico Collins didn't have a quarterback.
yeah, and
Shane Patterson was trash.
he was inconsistent though, and you could blame it on coaching, you could blame it on the quarterback. Um, it could be a combination, but it seems like those prototypical big guys that we've had have been inconsistent for a lot of years. I just feel like when Braylon Edwards was at his peak, right? I could have been the quarterback, and he was gonna go get the ball. Chesson was a good one. Darboh was a good one, but they weren't outstanding either. But they were at least fairly consistent.
Oh man, I can't figure that out. No, they were. Like I think I don't know. Like I know they've been talking about seeing Blake catch the ball out of the backfield more too. Um, I mean, there's a lot of hype around this offense, and like you said, there's just so much scar tissue still,
Absolutely.
and I think that scar tissue will be there until they win a natty. Honestly, I don't. If they win a natty, I think that's about the only thing that'll take it away. I mean, because we get to the playoffs and we shit the bed.
Right.
The past two seasons, yeah, it was nice to get there. Now it's kind of, it might be greedy, but now we want more as fans. Um, but I mean, we'll see how it goes. Um, Now I think the defensive side of the ball has a lot more questions to it. Um, just because I mean we lost our nose tackle and Mozzie Smith. We lost not Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins still there. Mike Morris. We lost. Who was the cornerback we lost? Lost the cornerback. I mean, we do still have Will Johnson. I mean, Will. I know they have Chris Jenkins as like on the freak list. Same thing as on the, um, we have Jalen Harrell. All them on the front. On the backside, I mean, you still have Mikey Barrett in the linebacker position. I think it's going to really depend on who takes those other two linebacker positions seriously.
Yeah.
Right there in the middle of the defense. And then, I mean, on the back end, I think we're pretty solid. I think the only real big question on defense is that second cornerback spot. Yeah, you have Josh Wallace that just came in from UMass, um, who had been getting a lot of hype. You have is it Amorian Walker that switched over from
Yep.
wideout to cornerback? I know he was getting some hype during spring camp. I really read much or heard much about him in fall camp, but I mean, in my opinion, that's your biggest spot. I mean, Will Johnson's got the other side locked down. I mean, what do you think about the defensive side of the ball? Because
So I think there's some, there's definitely some question marks out there, but I think that my confidence is a lot higher that the defensive side of the ball can, um, you know, figure things out, right? Our defense has played at a high level for 7 8 years now, other than the big games under Don Brown, right? But under Minter and boy, I already forgot the last guy.
Mike
Um,
McDonald.
yeah, Mike McDonald. We've been strong, and I would argue that our depth has been better there, uh, deeper for
Oh
a
yeah,
while.
it's been way deeper.
So I'm pretty confident in that. And now that our offense has taken some steps forward, I think that that's going to that takes some pressure off the defense, right? Um, they can play it a little looser, a little more aggressive at times, and pick and choose their spots. Where under Don Brown, this was our strength and also our weakness is that, and part of it is that's just who Don Brown is, but part of it is I think was born out of necessity because we didn't have that consistent offenses. We had to be aggressive all 90% of the time, and now, um, we have the luxury of playing to our strengths more than trying to be aggressive. So uh, DB is probably my biggest concern.
Mm-hmm.
But that kid that just transferred in sounds like it's him and Walker. I think that the insiders are saying are
Yeah.
pushing for that other side of the field. So um, we'll see what happens. And the good news about that is that we probably really don't have to worry about those deep threats really hurting us or changing the game until Penn State, then Ohio State. So they have some time to improve under get in game conditions.
No, and they do. They have. I mean, just with the first four games, and that's kind of how it's been set up. Either we play
Right.
our first opening Big Ten games, usually either Rutgers or Maryland, depending on the season. Um, but I
And
really, honestly, though,
the reality
after
is hang on just a second, is that these first 3 or 4 games, right? These guys are probably athletically superior enough that they can recover from any mistakes, and they're not really going to get challenged, right? Once we get into Big Ten play, maybe they'll get, you know, there'll be a guy or two that's athletic enough to kind of challenge them and force their hand, but um,
And I mean,
yeah,
we can't forget about Mike Sainer still back there either. I mean,
yeah,
he
Mikey's been great.
from a 1 year thing, making the biggest play probably in 20 years of Michigan football down in Columbus last season. Um, I mean, gotta look at him, Mike Barrett, Chris Jenkins, Jalen Harrell, um, Mason Graham. Mason Graham might be big. Who's the other one? Kenneth Grant at nose tackle also.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our strongest spot is definitely the defensive line still. We've seen everyone there play. They've played in big games. They played. Kenneth Grant played last year in big games. Mason Graham played a lot last season as a true freshman. Um,
Yep.
and obviously, Jalen Harrell and Chris Jenkins have played for a long time too. By them, like played in a lot of big games too. So that I think that's where our most experience comes from. Is the front seven, 100%. It's the back, like you said, the DBs is where you're gonna have to worry about what goes on. And I mean, and then you have the special teams. We lost two of the best special team artists in a while. I mean, you have Jake Moody. Jake,
And that's a great point, and that's something that I keep forgetting about because those guys were so good for so long. Um, and I think that we are good enough that some special teams mistakes. Games shouldn't come down to special teams. Maybe Penn State, maybe Ohio State, and then possibly in the playoffs as well. But again, they have some time to work under pressure and work out some bugs. But that's a great point because these guys they were so good for so long, and
well, yeah, I
now they're
mean,
gone.
luckily, I mean, the kid that we got that kicker out of Louisville, that transfer kicker out of from Louisville that had great numbers at Louisville. So hopefully he comes in and does what he needs to do. But it's just going to be very hard to get the production that we got out of Moody and not Kenny Young. What was the ball? What was the punter's name? Why can't I think of it right now? Brad Robbins. There we go.
Yeah,
Because I mean they were consistent. And that's consistency is key in college football, and not just college football. Consistency is key in everything. But you deal with
correct.
Jake Moody, who's making what he made what a almost was it a 60-yarder in the playoff game right before halftime?
Yeah, 57
So
or something, I think.
yeah, I mean, and he's consistent from deep, like 40 plus yards. He's consistent, and he was. I mean, the dude did he? I don't think he ever missed an extra point in his time at Michigan.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure there's probably one or two, but I can't think of any.
I don't think so, Dad.
He may not have.
I gotta look this up because this is gonna show me his stats. So in his career, oh, it doesn't tell me how many freaking attempts he had. In his career, he made 148 PATs.
How many you
Um,
missed?
so his, I, I don't. Hang on. In PAT wise, I mean, so this is field goals by itself. PATs, it doesn't have attempts next
Gotcha.
to it; it just says PATs. Um, field goals wise, so I think this is a mixture. This is just straight field goals. So not PATs. He was 69. for 84 on PATs with a long of 59. That's 82% in his career. 82% as a kicker is insane.
It is.
That's so consistent. Let's see if I do this, if I can see. So this was last year for PATs. Where's that? Man, come on. Michigan needs to make their stuff better. So last year for PATs, he was 60 for 60. So 60 for 60. In 2021, he was, come on. Oh, you load, please. I don't know. Okay, there it goes. In 2021, he was 56 for 56. 2020, I just want to know if he was perfect or not, because if he wasn't perfect, I mean, he didn't play a lot in 2020. In 2020, he was 9 for 9 on PATs. 2019, which I think his 2019 was when he started kind of getting more of the field goal. Because I think what's his name was still there at that point. 2019, he was 18 for 18. Then I think he went perfect. This is the last season was 2018. I think he was perfect this whole time at Michigan on PATs, which again, I know it's a short kick, but I think that says something. Yeah, that he went perfect this whole time at Michigan.
And there
He
you
was
go.
100. He was 148 for 148. I mean, as he's 100% as a for PATs and 82% at field goals. It's just gonna. The whole point was that before I went down that rabbit hole and decided to look all that up. It depends. It's just gonna that that's probably other than offense. I mean, obviously, other than the offensive defense side of the ball, I think that's to me the biggest spot on this team. The 100% the biggest spot on this team is more the field goal unit. But I mean, Brad Robbins was consistently punting the ball inside the 20-yard line.
Yep.
And I mean, I think the special teams are an important role.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Jake Muta used to kick the ball in the back of the end zone every single kickoff too. So, but go ahead. I'm gonna get off my kicker high horse.
Yeah, I kind of lost my thought there. Yeah, I don't know.
My bad.
Good.
But like I said, that's gonna be your biggest thing. I mean, now how will it play out? I guess we'll see. We'll move on. Let's talk about season predictions.
So real quick, I kind of got one
Got it.
piece of that thought back. Is I really feel like Michigan's going to dominate this year, even more so than they did last year. Penn State makes me a little bit nervous, but you know, more often than not, when they look good on paper, and us too, really, right? Except for the last couple of years, they've been fraudulent. So. But I think they have the potential to be every bit as good as us, and every bit as dangerous as us, and that'll be a dogfight. And I know we'll get into this later in other episodes, but you know, I think Ohio State, and this doesn't mean I think they will, but I think they could lose 3 or 4 games pretty easily this year.
We're actually, we'll say we'll get into the.
Their quarterback situation is kind of unsettled, and maybe one of these guys grows into the role quickly. My opinion is, you look on the message boards and on social media is they're like, yeah, we've been doing this for years. We've even thought so. And then, we pop up with Troy Smith and, just right on down the road, and they're right. But
JT Barrett, and
Cardell
Jones.
Dwayne Haskins, but
at some point that's got to come to an end, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't care what you say. There's a little bit of luck involved in that too, right? Just
same thing with Alabama.
Don't get me wrong; they've been very good, even great for most of their time that they dominated the rivalry the last decade and a half. But they've had a fair amount of things go their way too, and I think that's one of them. And I do think the tides are turning. Do I think we're going to win 14 out of 15 or whatever? No, probably not. That just doesn't happen. And for it to happen twice to the same team in the same rivalry, not likely. But I do think we could win 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, in the next 10 years. Because I said this all along when we were getting pushed around, these things go in cycles. Not to jinx us or anything, but it appears that we're on the upside and they're on the downswing a little bit. And if we were able to beat them this year, and especially beat them bad, I just about guarantee they will be gone. And that could, you make one bad coaching choice like we did with Rich Rod, right? And that sets you back another 5 years.
Yeah, and then you hire Brady Hoke, and it sets you back another 7.
And that part, as an Ohio State fan, I would just say this: be careful what you wish for.
But I mean,
because there was a period of time where you and I would have killed for 11-1. For
I would have killed
10 of those years.
10 and 2, and been fine with it.
Right.
I mean, we'll look at the schedule here. I mean, kind of go over we'll go over what we think we're personally gonna do, and then we'll go over what we think the Big Ten's gonna go over with.
Okay.
I'll pull the schedule up. Let me see if I can zoom in at all. I don't think I can. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, this is just off ESPN. I mean, I think we can all agree the first 4 games are probably wins. Should be wins, dominant wins.
Yep.
ECU, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers. September 25th, September 30th, it kind of gets a little bit rougher. In my opinion, this is a tough stretch. This is a tough 4 games, really tough 4 games, honestly, in my opinion. I think this is, if we get through this stretch, and dominate, I mean, going to Nebraska, that's going to be a hell. They're hyped up. They got a new coach. They got Mark Rule now. They got new players. I mean,
and that's a tough place to play, right?
Oh yeah.
And in my eyes, that's going to be our first real challenge of the season.
That'll probably be a night game at Nebraska.
Right, and that is going to be. That's going to be their first real test too, if I remember right. I think they got Colorado the second game of the season. They played
Colorado
maybe?
The second game of the season, yeah. But I mean, I personally, going off Colorado, I don't want to go down a hole here, but personally, Colorado, I don't think it's going to be very good this year, even with Dion.
But I agree with that. But 2 new coaches, 2 new, 2 reinvigorated programs.
Oh, and you're bringing back a rivalry from the Big 12.
Let's see what happens. But
that was a rivalry in the Big 12.
Correct. Yeah, it was. So that'll be a statement game for them. But that'll be, rules. Gauge is against us if they're undefeated at that point. If they're ass again, then it's not going to matter. And I would still be concerned just because, you know, we spent a lot of years as the hunters, and now we're the hunted again because we've won two Big Ten championships in a row and made the CFP twice in a row. So we're back to the
Word.
Michigan of most of my life and of your youth where we got everybody's best shot, right? And before this little 2 year stretch, I would say the 5 years before that had kind of fallen off a little bit. People before App State, people walked into Michigan Stadium and they were intimidated, and that went away gradually over the years. But I think it's coming back.
Yeah, I mean,
But anyways,
but like you just said, we walk into a stadium intimidated. I think Nebraska, even though Nebraska's not good, last time we went to Nebraska in a night game, now I don't. It's not a time ain't been released yet. Last time with Nebraska in a night game, we damn near lost that game. Like I said,
yep,
it's a tough place to play. I don't care who you are. I think that's definitely probably other than Penn State and Ohio State. I don't know because Michigan State's at night, and I don't know. Honestly I said this since the start, but like the more and more times get released and things like that, our schedule seems to get harder and harder and harder because they release night games. Yeah, we don't get to play in Happy Valley for a whiteout. Going to Happy Valley don't matter when you go there. It's like coming to the big house. Uh, but I mean,
right.
going to Minnesota on October 7th. I mean, Minnesota's kind of I think going to have a down year this year, but not a team to overlook at all. PJ Fleck isn't a coach to overlook. Yeah, has he did what they want him to do there? No, but he's kept them consistent. No, they haven't made a Big Ten championship game, but they're consistently in the talk. Um, honestly, that'll probably if that wouldn't shock me if that was a night game also. And if we have 3 night games in a row, pretty much I'm gonna be mad because that means I got to stay up all day, watch TV all day without watching football. But Indiana, I think is a win. I think, I think, like so Nebraska, Minnesota, we should win them. All in all, I'm gonna say we win them. Uh, and then Indiana, I say we win. Coming into East Lansing night game, which whoever's an idea of this was, it's stupid. This is a rivalry at this point that I believe should be like the Ohio State rivalry, and there should never be a night game ever again. Um, especially going to East Lansing next year after the shit that happened this year. And I mean, Sparties are fucking Sparties are going to be fucking Sparties, and
So that's a game you always got to worry about, right? And it's a lot like the Ohio State in a sense that the records don't matter as much as they do in a lot of games, and you're always going to get their best shot, and Tunnel Gate, right? I think they're going to have a point to prove,
oh, it's going to be chippy as fuck.
and refs will lock the refs are going to throw a flag for a dirty look at the coin toss. I think that's going to be probably one of the tightest call games that I've ever seen. But the other reality is I think if Tucker doesn't finish, if they don't make a bowl game, I think Tucker's gone. So he's going to be feeling the pressure too. So there's besides the rivalry thing, there's a lot of other tangibles that are just kind of sitting there to make that an interesting game. I don't think that they're going to be a problem, and I don't think that they're going to be very good this year. I think they're a 4 or 5 win team again, but you never know.
You'll see when I do. Yeah, you. I mean, it's just one of the games again. You just, I mean, there's no game in the Big Ten you should ever feel comfortable with, and like I said, honestly, no, there's not. It don't matter. You can say Rutgers, you can say Maryland. I mean, we'll jump to Maryland in a minute, but going down, there's not a team in the Big Ten that any given Sunday could pull off an upset. I mean, Greg Schiano. I mean, going back to Rutgers, we kind of skipped over. I mean, Greg Schiano has them playing good ball. I know they weren't very good last year, like record wise, but they were competitive. They were competitive with us until the second half.
They were.
I believe we were losing or tied at halftime.
I think you're right. I think we were down
because I mean, I and we just had some big defensive plays, and the team stepped up in the second half, and I think we ended up winning by like 20 plus points. But still, I mean, Shiano's got him playing good. I mean, we'll jump down to Maryland. We'll skip a little bit. I mean, Maryland played good last year. Maryland's a good team. Maryland threatened us in the big house last year. I think we won by 6. It was like 20-13. I mean, even if you go back to 2 years ago, or last time Rutgers came to the big house, so 2021, 2021, Rutgers, I believe it was a one possession game too by the end of the game. I mean, that's like I said, where I'm going with that is there's no game in the Big Ten that's a given game. Unlike, I think, in the SEC where you have Vanderbilt, you always have those few teams at the bottom that are, hey, we're going to win this game. It don't even matter. But we'll move on. We'll go down to Purdue. Purdue, where that game sits, I like where that game sits. It's not the game before Ohio State. If that game was before Ohio State, it would be like the Illinois game to me last year, would be a huge trap game. Yeah, the Maryland game right there could possibly be. But I feel like Michigan always plays great at Maryland ever since the Big Ten. Other than when we lost, a good Brady Hoke. Thank you, Brady. And then I mean you have at Penn State. We all know is a tough environment. I know it's not the whiteout, thank God. So I think that's gonna be. But like you said about Penn State earlier, it just depends on how good they actually. Yes, they have a bunch of hype. Last year didn't live up to it. What they finished 7 and something, 7-6, 8-6, 8-4, whatever, 8-5. And then I mean you have Ohio State. The Ohio State game at the end of the season, you never know. All in all, we're the most well-rounded team, other like with the closest thing being Ohio State, and I personally think we run the table, but also would be shocked to see us drop a game.
Yeah, me neither. And we could drop one and still make it. Ohio State did it last year. But the big thing is 2 years ago, right? Pretty unexpected. And then last year there was a little bit of pressure and some higher expectations, but the big question mark to me is how can these guys perform with the pressure and the expectations? Preseason ranked number 2 by just about everybody, right? There's really nowhere to go but down. Till you make the CFP and then go from there. And if we do that, we have to at least make the championship game this year. And Harbaugh said he thinks this is his best team. I think it's his most talented team by far.
Best team we've
I think this is the most talented team
since like
what I think they got to win it all to like get a seat at that table, but potentially they're right there. I think they're right up there with the 1997 team. There's a lot of similarities between these two teams preseason wise, right? And the other thing is it sounds like Davis Warren's going to win the backup job. Is that I think that, and you can say this for a lot of teams, but that's the one thing that could really fuck us is if JJ goes down with a season-ending injury.
I mean, Depends. Okay, so it depends on one. Yes, I agree. It could fuck us, and honestly, it probably will, just because that's the most Michigan thing to ever happen. Um, at least in my lifetime. Uh, but again, I mean, depending on how good our wide receivers and stuff are, you really don't know. I mean, you have Alex Orgy, you have Davis Warren. I don't know. I mean, let's hope that doesn't happen though. I don't really want to have to deal with that stress, and please don't. Why you gotta say that? Why you gotta say that?
Right.
I'm
Well, I'm just that we're talking about expectations and worries and things and I expect JJ to have a Heisman type season, and I think that we could potentially have three guys in the conversation, which will hurt all of them's chances to win it. And I don't think one of our guys will win it because we got three that are, if he comes out and plays like he's capable of playing how I think he's going to play, he's got something to prove, right? Uh, you know, when you have that much talent, and I can't think of any specific examples, but there's been some guys with two nominated where they've obviously taken away from each other, but that's the reality of the situation. That it's true for most teams that have a really good quarterback. If you lose that guy, last year we had Cade,
Mhm.
and again, not nearly in the same talent universe as JJ, but he helped lead us to a Big Ten championship and was
He was
serviceable.
experienced in winning.
Yeah, and we don't have that. We don't have the experience, and you know, I guess it's to be seen if he has the talent. But um, I'd like to see uh, us be up convincingly enough at the half for whoever it may be, him or Orgy or whoever, get some substantial playing time, in real live game situations.
Yeah. No, yeah, six. I, and the first 3, 4 games, hopefully we do. Probably the first three. I mean,
Yeah,
is when you're really going to see it and should see it. Uh, but yeah, what? I mean, you might as well just go ahead and give me an hour. What's Michigan's record standing at the end of the? But when the clocks hit 00 on November 25th against Ohio State, what's our record?
11-1.
Who do we lose to?
Penn State.
Lose to Penn State at Penn State.
Yep.
I agree. I think if we drop one, it's either Nebraska or Minnesota. One of those two games, back to back road games,
Yep.
um, or we lose to Penn State. But I think we run the table again.
And I
I
really
think
think we
just
do too,
just
but you know that's hard to do 2 years. It's hard to do anyway. It's really hard to do 2 years in a row. Um, and as the season goes on, there's just hiccups and I don't see this being a problem, but it wouldn't be shocking if it was. Is you know you win 17, 18 of your last 20 something games. It's easy to take your foot off the gas a little bit. And we have so much senior leadership, and Harbaugh's just been around the block so many times that I don't think that would happen, but it could.
well, yeah. I mean, the fact that JJ is not even a captain
Right,
with the senior leadership. I mean, that a lot of people are like, oh, JJ is not a leader, and I was like, no, we have seniors that are been here and have seen this shit,
right. That have
have
earned
been
it.
have been through a shit 2020 season, and then instantly turn it around and say, well, hey, we ain't doing this. And we play. I mean, it plays hard. I mean, when you look at the captains, that's what we want as captains. Someone who's been through it, someone that can lead. Obviously, we want someone that can lead. I mean, offensive captains. Where are they at? I mean, your offensive captains is Zach Zinner, Blake Corum, Trevor Keegan. What three dudes there, especially Trevor Keegan and Zach Zinner, who have been here and 8 on that offensive line.
Right.
Probably 2 of our best offensive linemen we've had in a very long time. And then you have defensive side. You have Mike Barrett, fifth-year senior. Mike Sanders, fifth-year senior. Chris Jenkins, senior. Every single one of them is Blake a junior. Blake's a senior.
Yeah, Blake's a senior.
I mean, everybody's either a senior or a senior past a senior. So I don't know. There's like we said, experience is like as I said, consistency and experience, and we'll see how it goes. Let's look at the Big Ten as a whole now, and look at standings and make our standing predictions on how the Big Ten is going to go. We'll start with the East because I think the West we can. It's a little bit in the East. You got really probably 3 teams as we talk about in the East every year. We probably have a shot. We'll go to the West, which the West is always wide open first. I mean, you have. Oh shoot! I did not mean to do that. What am I doing here? So I mean, you have Wisconsin, Iowa, Purdue, Nebraska, Illinois, Minnesota, and Northwestern over there. I'm gonna start at number 7. Do you want to go one by one, and we'll spit it, or just list all 7?
Say that again.
Do you want to go one by one, like back and forth? So I'll say my number 7, you'll say your number 7, or do you want me to list off all 7 of my my whole standings?
No, that's fine. We can do it. We can do it one by one. Give me just a second to pull them all up, though.
Come on, you should know everybody in the Big Ten.
Yeah, but I've had a long couple of days, and I'm a little bit fuzzy brained. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna hang on real quick while you pull it up. We were gonna talk about the Tigers today, but as soon as I put it in the lineup, Tigers absolutely decided to shit the bed against the Astros. I mean, they lost 17-4 today and 9-2 last night. So,
yep.
All right. So, going off that. So, out of the West, I'll start at my number 7 pick. I have Northwestern. Losing Pat Fitzgerald's going to kill them. Not even having a shot. I got them going 2-10. 2-10 overall, 0-9 in the Big Ten. I don't have them winning one Big Ten game this season.
Yeah. Are we throwing out records too?
You don't have to. So
I would say that's right. I'd be surprised if they won more than 2 or 3 games, because if the things that were, there's no way that Pat Fitzgerald didn't have some type of idea what's going on, right? But I think that goes on at every single university in the country, on some level, and the players are pissed. And you get this interim guy that's thrown in there with some players that are pissed that they lost the guy they love, and the motivation just isn't there. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't win anything.
I mean, so I did one. So they have that season predictor thing where you can go in and you can pick every Big Ten game, and that's what I did. I posted it on Twitter. I'm using the same one I posted on Twitter last, whatever it was, a week or so ago. Because that's the way I actually feel, and so that's why I think they have some. I think they have an FCS game that they play, and I'm like, please win that game. You don't want to do that to yourselves.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and I wouldn't either, just because, like you said, everyone's mad, and like you said, they either way they're not going to be good. They're going to be very bad.
I don't want to do this with every team, but real quick, Rutgers, right? UTEP, Duke, Minnesota, Penn State, Howard, Nebraska, Maryland, Iowa, Wisconsin, Purdue, Illinois. Maybe they beat Rutgers. Maybe they beat Howard. Other than that, I don't know.
I think it was. Listen, I have met 2 wins.
Yeah.
I think it was the Howard game, or what's their other non-conference games?
UTEP.
I got
Duke.
No, I have them losing to Duke. I haven't beaten UTEP and Howard. That's who I have.
Yeah.
That's where I got the 2 wins from. Um, oh yeah. So we'll go. I just got an idea actually, but we'll just stick with the West for now. Um, Going to number 6 in the West. Like I said, we can split through these. So number 6 in the West, I have Minnesota. I have them going 3-9, 2-7 in the Big Ten. I think they lost a lot last season with Ibrahim and whatever their quarterback was dipping out. I just don't think they have a good season. I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to be like Nebraska a few years ago, where they were like one of the best 3-9 teams out there. I just don't see them actually pulling out ball games.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that.
That's perfect. And number 5, I have Illinois. Um, High team last year. There's still actually a lot of hype about them this year. I think they fall off a little bit, and I think they finished 5-7, um, and finished 3-6 in the Big Ten. Like I said, we're slowly getting up to. I think there's just. I know they got a transfer quarterback from I think Ole Miss and Mississippi State coming in. So I mean, I could be completely wrong. That's like the one pick like I think could screw me.
Yep.
But that's my number 5 pick.
I go with Iowa.
You think Iowa? Dang.
I think Bielema's going to turn them around a little bit this year. I have, and I think you could flip flop those two, but I'm going Iowa.
All right. If we weren't an hour into this episode, I'd want to go deeper on that. But at number 4, I got Nebraska. I think Nebraska has a good season this year, and I think they finish 8-4, 5-4 in the Big Ten, and
Yep. And I got Illinois.
Illinois at 4. Then I got Purdue at 3 at 7-5, 5-4. The only reason they're above Nebraska is because I have them beating Nebraska. They had the tiebreaker over them. Wait, what? Okay, I think that's supposed to be 8 and no, that's right, 7-5. No, it's not. That's 13 games. What happened here? I don't know. Don't ask me. Yeah, okay, that's gotta be why. Because they I know why. They finished 7-5 in the overall standings, but in the conference they're both 5-4, and Nebraska lost to Purdue. So that's why Purdue is third. I had to think about that really hard. So who's your number 3? So we can ignore what I just did.
Purdue.
Purdue at 3. So at 2, I have Iowa. I think Cade goes and actually helps them be better. I have them 8-4, 6-3 in the West, or in the big conference.
I think they're going to be lucky to be a 500 team this year.
And that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they have a great defense, and that's the only reason why I think Cade can go actually make them better. But I still don't think they win the conference or the division. That's why, I mean, I might as well say it. I mean, I have Wisconsin win the division. I think Luke
Kirk Ferentz's son has a special talent for making quarterbacks worse, and I think he's going to struggle with the new system. And you know, Cade, one of Cade's biggest faults, and we've seen it 2 years ago, but we really seen it last year because of the pressure, is that he gets frustrated really easy, and it translates to his gameplay. And I can just see him having a bad game or the team having a bad game, and him getting frustrated and going into a downward spiral. And he, and to a lesser extent, the Iowa football team has put a lot of pressure and expectations on him, and I just don't think he's a guy that handles that well. And maybe he proves me wrong. I hope he doesn't, because fuck him and the way he left. But that's kind of
I mean, it could go anyway. The West is so fucked. I'm so happy this is the last year of divisions.
Yes.
Because in how many times since it started has the West team actually deserved to be in the Big Ten championship game?
They very few.
Very
Iowa
rare.
2 years ago, they did. I thought, and then we
With
destroyed them. But
I mean, Iowa when they played Ohio State, and not when they played Michigan State. Wisconsin, other than that, Wisconsin the first 2 years.
yeah,
But like I said, I have Iowa at 2, and I have Wisconsin at 1. I think Luke Fickell is going to come in and instantly change what happened last year completely around. He's
so
bringing
I
a new
got
offense.
Nebraska at 2 and Wisconsin at 1.
Okay, yeah. So I think
For the same reasons. I think you know Wisconsin, the talent was there, right? There was some type of disconnect last year, and then Chris got let go, and but I believe that the talent was there, and I think Fickle comes in and turns them around pretty quick.
I agree. I mean, he's going to be bringing in. You're not going to be seeing. That's the weird thing is Wisconsin's going to be going away from what they're used to, what Michigan had to go away from, and Michigan's kind of gotten back to it. But you aren't going to see the same ground and pound Wisconsin team that we've seen.
No, and that might be a cause for some struggles for them, right? When you're, a la Rich Rod trying to change a whole team and university's identity, but it's not, his philosophy and Rich Rod's philosophy aren't. There's not as drastic as a difference, in styles of play where what we did traditionally up until Rich Rod come and what Rich Rod tried to bring in here. And I was all for it, don't get me wrong, but really could not have been any different, right? So we'll see what happens. I would not be surprised if they finish middle of the pack, Big Ten, just for those reasons. But I do think they're gonna win it.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think Fickle's going to be a good fit there. I mean, when Harbaugh after 2020, I wanted Luke Fickle to come to Michigan, so I'm glad he didn't now, though. Move to the East now. So obviously Wisconsin's going to the Big Ten championship game out of the West. Moving to the East, start at 7. I have Rutgers finishing 3-9, 1-8. But they get swept in our division. That's really why.
Yeah.
Number 6. I mean, I think means you agree. Number 6, I got Sparty, 3-9, 1-8, 1-5. They beat Rutgers. That's all they're beating in the Big Ten. Total. So I think 7 LML is going to turn into 9 LML. And he's going to be bye-bye gone Mel at that point. He's going to be took into the woodshed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ashiba will, have gotten a little more glimpse into his personality since he's bought the Suns, and he was a driving force.
Trying to fight
now that big contract.
What's his name? Anyways, yeah, no, I know.
I think he wouldn't hesitate to write a big check to get rid of him and try to get the momentum that they had back, right? So we'll see, but I'm with you on that too. I got a feeling we're going to be right on down the line on this. But
number 5, I got Indiana, 5-7, 3-6. Number 4, I got Maryland, 9-3, 6-3. I got Maryland have a good season this year.
Yep, I agree. They've kind of been on the up and up for a little bit. They haven't skyrocketed, but every year for the last 4 or 5 years, they've gotten a little bit better. And yeah, I would go 8-4 and 5-4.
Talia's a senior.
Yeah.
Talia's been there. He's seen the shit. He's played in the Big Ten for 4 years now. I think finally Maryland get up there. And even 9-3 in the Big Ten. That proves. I want to know who you have at number 3 before I tell you mine.
Ohio State.
All right, I have Ohio State at 3. I have them finishing 9-3 and 7-2 in the conference.
Yep.
And I have Penn State at number 2. Obviously, and I have them at 11-1, 8-1. The only losses to us, we finished 12-0, run the table once again, and then we beat Wisconsin, obviously, and because no West team has ever won the Big Ten championship game.
Correct.
So, in the final year of the divisions, I believe that Michigan finishes it out on top for a three-peat of the Big Ten championship with a 13-0 record to end the season. Well, to go into the playoffs.
Yep, I agree.
All right, real quick. Now, since we did that, so we're going into the playoffs. I'll roll it into that. I want your 4 playoff teams. I want your playoff predictions and what's going to happen. If you want me, I'll go first if you need time.
Yeah, go first.
So my 1v4 matchup is going to be a Michigan-Alabama matchup. I think Alabama. I believe when I did my SEC predictions, I had Alabama and Georgia at 11-1 each on different sides of the bracket. So one of them will lose 2 games, but I think somewhere in there, I don't think it's going to matter. I think the SEC is going to get their SEC treatment and get 2 teams in again. I very well could have put Penn State in there because Penn State would be 11-1 if one of those teams lost against each other. You had to have 2 losses, but it just depends. I don't trust the SEC because on the other side, the SEC bias, and the other side, I have Georgia, Clemson. I think Clemson comes back this year in the ACC and has a good season, and I believe that Georgia's just going to be Georgia. Like I said, I think Georgia and Alabama will finish 11-1 the regular season, play each other. One of them loses 2 games, but I just don't. I don't know if the NCAA or the college football committee puts Penn State in over an SEC team.
I don't think that a one-loss Penn State gets in like one loss Ohio State did last year.
And that's kind of where I'm at.
Ohio State got in on reputation. Penn State doesn't have that. If Penn State beats us, I think we get in, but I don't think 2 teams get in if we beat Penn State. I don't.
No, I mean, especially if Ohio State has the season that we think they're going to have.
Right.
And like I said, I think I have Ohio State losing to. I don't honestly remember. I know it's us and Penn State, and then it's not Notre Dame. I know it's because. Oh no, it is Notre Dame. I do have them losing to Notre Dame in week 4 or whatever, whenever they play, because they're 7-2 in the conference. Like I said, I have Michigan, Bama on 1-4, Georgia, Clemson 2-3, and then I have Michigan, Georgia, in the finals, and then I'm rolling with it till I mean, I've told you. I'm rolling with it till it doesn't happen. Michigan's winning the Natty. They're running the table 15-0. It's fucking finally happening. I am going to fucking die when it happens, but it's happening. It's over.
So I'm gonna go Michigan 1, Florida State 4, Georgia 2, LSU 4. I think LSU beats Georgia. We beat Florida State and we win it.
They ain't putting LSU and Georgia next to each other. You know that for a fact. I think you flip those. Because if not, they would have put Michigan and Ohio State together last year. Because Ohio State was, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you go back to that SEC bias, right? And I think if those are the best 2 out of the SEC, and Michigan is clearly number 1, right? I think they do put them together just to get them in there. But
no, I agree.
I'm with you in the fact that I think that they would much rather prefer to have somebody at a 1 or 4 and somebody at a 2 or 3, not a 2 and 3, so they have a better chance to get an SEC all final.
Yeah, I mean, I like FSU and I like. I think I have LS. I like FSU like as a team. They're one of those teams though where with me, I'm like, are they really going to come back though? I said, do they really have it? I mean, I know they were good last year, and I mean, we'll really get a test. And same thing with LSU. I know Brian Kelly did great last year at LSU, led them to the SEC championship. But can he continue that success? Unlike he did, unlike he kind of did at Notre Dame, he kind of would be high, kind of low, kind of high, kind of low.
Yep. And that's a question mark, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them shit the bed. But LSU just athletically um, has been on a pretty nice run, right? Um, and not baseball team won a natty, right? I believe, yeah.
Baseball
So,
team won the Natty, dude. LSU fans down here are unbearable right now, Dad.
oh, I'm sure.
Unbearable. Like, uh, like
And I actually I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. I must stand by what I said, but I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia missed out of the
I
playoffs this
wouldn't
year.
either. Just
I almost just left them off at the last minute,
I think they just
but
get the benefit of the doubt.
2 years in a row, it's hard.
I think it's more just the benefit
They've
of the
earned
doubt.
the right to get in.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at there. Who'd you say you had winning it?
Michigan.
Okay, so we agree there. I mean, did you see? I'm sorry. Did you watch Game Day at all yesterday? Before we move on to do our draft, our fantasy draft
I
for
did not.
for
We were out on the motorcycle all day.
okay, yeah, I didn't know, but Desmond fucking picked Texas A&M again. He put Texas A&M to be like the dark color because remember last year, well,
Did
he
he
picked the
really?
dark. He put them as their dark colors of the SEC, and he started like it was some big joke again. And I think I don't know if he put him in the fucking playoff or not, Dad. No, he didn't because it's
Huh.
Michigan. He has Michigan winning it, FSU, and I think Georgia and someone else. I don't remember who the other team was, but I know.
I'll have to. I have it recorded. I'll have to watch it before next Saturday. Um, but I think that and it's a big. I really didn't want to pick Michigan because I don't want to jinx us, but I think he's purposely avoided that for that very reason. And he doesn't want to be the homer slappy, and I think that he does. I think he has the right amount of favoritism. I don't think he overly favors Michigan, and I think he's pretty realistic when he starts talking about them for the most part. And not that Chuck is, Chuck does some stuff for Fox, but Chuck is
Oh, he's
unabashedly
so
a
homer.
Michigan homer, right?
The dude after we beat Ohio State in 2020 was running around with the fucking flag out on the field.
Right. Chuck don't give a
2021.
fuck, right?
No, the
He at
dude's a
least
Patriots homer.
Desmond at least tries to remain somewhat neutral.
No, not even close, and that's what I love about it because Urban Meyer's on there too. But no,
And I
that's
do
one of
think
the
that
best.
that is part of Chuck's reason because Urban's just so brash, and Chuck's like, okay, especially now that we've had some recent success, right? He's like, okay, I'm gonna come right back at you.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to come at Urban though because Urban was 7-0 against us. So,
And he was, but that was in
did
the
you watch that
past.
Swamp Kings? Did you watch the Florida
I
thing yet?
have not watched it yet.
I haven't watched it all, but people have kind of ruined it for me on Facebook and Twitter. And
Yeah, and
sounds like it's
that's
a
why
huge.
I've delayed because I really like that
It's
Untold series, right? The Johnny Manziel one I thought was pretty good. And there's the only one I haven't watched is the Caitlyn Jenner one, and I never will. But I think they've all in all been pretty decent. But I was going to watch it one day, and I happened to, it was probably social media where I seen a bunch of stuff about it, and
nice.
I thought I'm gonna lay down on that for a little bit and let myself forget what I just read, and then I'll watch it.
And
So
it
I
wasn't
can.
it, and it wasn't even that it ruined it. It just told you kind of like what was and what wasn't.
Well, and what got it for me right was they were talking about all the things that were kind of omitted and not talked about, and those were the things that I like
That
everybody
I
else were
want.
looking forward to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
But there,
I mean,
I think there's a couple more episodes that are going to be released, if I remember right.
I don't remember. I'm about an episode and a half in. I started watching it. I was
So
like,
I think there's 4 out, and there's going to be 6.
I don't remember.
I
I
don't
couldn't.
remember for sure
I
either.
couldn't. I couldn't tell you. real quick, we'll go over pick'ems, and then we'll go into our draft real quick. So pick'ems, you finished 4-3. I finished 5-2. I tried to explain this to everybody yesterday what we were doing this year, but there were some technical errors that happened.
Okay.
Well, I was talking about me not putting my mic on. I left it on mute the whole
Right.
time for the whole entire video. We so for the pick'ems this year, whoever loses has to do the one chip challenge on here, and I'm gonna make it even better because I think this will be funny. They have to do it at the start of the show and do the whole show with the one chip challenge.
And that's fine. If you can make it through the first 10 minutes, I think it's going to be okay. Is your mouth going to be fine, right? But you might see some snot bubbles and some saliva drool in the first 10 minutes till it actually starts to level out a little bit.
And like I said, that'll be that's it's something fun. I mean, if I lose, I'm gonna hate my life. But anyways, I'm off to a good start, so we're good. All right, guys, let's move on to our draft. Our draft order pick thing. So we have 10 teams in there this year for it. I got all of our names in a piece of paper in this bag. I've shook it like 45,000 times, even before this. Now we all see I'm putting everything in. You can still see me, right, Ted?
Yeah. So real quick, are you going first to last or last to first?
So what we're doing, like I said, so the draft is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, 7 Eastern time. So it'll be the first one I draw, I'm just gonna do number 1, number 2, I'm just gonna go down the bottom. We are doing a snake draft. We are doing a snake draft, which so if you do 10, you'll just get it back to back at the end. So we'll get into, like I said, everybody's names in this bag, and we will get it going here now. So the first pick, wow, I'm very mad right now because this is not set up. The first pick in the draft is gonna be fucking you asshole. I fucking hate you. Why? And you were set up at number 10, and this is like I was like, come on.
Here we go.
So I'll show everybody here. I'm just gonna update it as I go. First pick is gonna be Ben, and the second pick of the draft is going to shit. I'm gonna start dropping stuff. Second pick is gonna be Mr. Timmy Wilson. Man, I'm gonna have to get screwed in this one. I'm just glad I wasn't the number 2 pick, or else that would have looked really suspicious. So him wins that one at number 2. The third pick will go to.
Yeah, I was hoping the same thing because it would have. Yeah,
it would have looked. I would. Well, I drew your name and I almost put it back in the bag. I was like, that looks. Next pick, it's going to be Austin Kaleba. He's going to have the third pick in the draft, aka beating my homies. Fourth pick is going to go to Mike Salo. Well, I'm really getting screwed. Okay, we don't got to be this nice, guys. Come on. Mike, you'll take the fourth pick in the draft. Next pick for the number 5 spot. Oh, I'm going to redraw, guys, because I accidentally drew 2. I don't want to screw somebody else over. One just fell out. That's the one I'm playing with. That pick will be, it's going to be Pat with the number 5 overall pick. Damn, aka Pure Michigan. Go after the number 6 pick. Will be Jock Harris, aka Don't Miss the Jet. Wow, I'm really getting screwed. Well, okay. The next pick is going to be for the number 7 spot. All right, it's me finally. It's finally me. So at number 7, it's going to be the real Slim Brady's. And then the final 3 spots. Next pick is going to be Lucas Barrett. at number 8. And for the last 2 spots at 9 and 10, we'll see which one goes. There's 2 of them. Shake them up. I don't want to. And the number 9 pick will go to Gary Wilson. And so that means that Joshua Go will be the 10th pick. Like I said, guys, draft is tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern time, 6 Central time. This is gonna be your.
So is that cousin Gary or
It's
Grandpa
cousin
Gary?
Okay. Like I said, we'll start drafting then. It is a snake draft, straight up. So, like I said, whoever wins will get you some type of merchandise of your favorite team. It won't be too expensive, like $25-$30 worth of merchandise, just as a little prize for winning. And like I said before, you guys got to be following the podcast on Twitter or Facebook. Like it on Facebook, follow on Twitter. And like I said, guys, share it, like it, do whatever y'all got to do to get us out there. It's going to be a big season for Michigan football. We will be back when Mr. I have to be on a time schedule. Are you going anywhere Friday?
Don't believe so.
We will be back Friday night, say 5 o'clock, 6. Let's say 6 your time, 5 my time. We'll be back Friday. We will preview the ECU game. Guys, we're 6 days away from Michigan football from being back. I know I can't be any more excited. I don't know if you're to that point yet, but I can't be more excited at this point.
I'm getting there. It's coming now.
So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll in the draft. See you guys tomorrow for the draft. And like I said, guys, have a great weekend. So happy to be back here doing the podcast. And go Blue.
Go Blue. Hail.